And boycotts over Sri Lanka's hosting of the Commonwealth Summit. What is the legacy of the civil war for people living there? That's coming up. Welcome. The meeting of Commonwealth heads of government has started in Sri Lanka, but the summit's attendance list has already narrowed. Leaders of Canada, India and Mauritius have boycotted the gathering. They will not be at the meeting. The reason stems from concern over the human rights record of the Sri Lankan government, particularly with regard to the last few months of the end of the civil war in 2009. My colleague George Alagaya is in Colombo for us. He reports now on the issues that refuse to go away.
I'm on Gallface Green, which is the place where families have always come here in Colombo to relax after a hard day's work. And in many ways, this is an image of a country that is at peace with itself. But some people say that image is deceptive, that behind all this calm, there is something, or perhaps even sinister, going on in this country. To talk about that, I want you to meet Sanjana Hathatua. Now, he runs a website called Ground Views. You are concerned about what's gone on in Sri Lanka post-war, aren't you?
I'm very concerned at the way this country is heading after the war ended in May 2009.
What is your concern?
That there is a growing militarization, that democracy, as your audience would know it, and certainly we have enjoyed it even during the war, is ironically deteriorating even more after the end of the war, and that there is a growing extremism in certain groups using Buddhism to pursue violent means.
Let's just take it one by one. You talked about militarization. What does that mean?
That the army, particularly after the end of the war, is literally in every imaginable space usually reserved for a civilian administration around the country. They are into hotels and tourism, logistics, transport of vegetables. They are into literally running resorts and boat tours. So this concern is that the army is encroaching on things, policies and places best reserved for elected officials and government.
Now, you mentioned also the role of religion, the Buddhist religion here in Sri Lanka. There's always been a place for Buddhism in Sri Lankan politics. What's different now?
It is the growing extremism. It is groups either acting alone or in concert who are using Buddhism to promote violent ideas and action. And the concern is this, that we have always had what I call fringe lunacy, these extremist elements in the country who have been saying and doing much the same thing. But post-war, it is becoming almost mainstream. And that's because the central government, for whatever reason, is either actively supporting these elements and voices by going to, for example, buildings which are opened by them, or are not condemning the violence when it occurs. And that's creating the context for it to grow.
Okay, so there's just 2 points there. Sanjana Hathatua, thank you very much for that. So you've heard there the concerns, and those are the concerns that have made people question whether Sri Lanka, Colombo, this city, whether this city should be hosting the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. No doubt over the next few days, with journalists here in the country, with heads of government here in this country, those are questions that are going to be asked in the conference halls of this city.